Welcome to Dasanti Discoveries. Today, we're diving into one of the most pressing issues of our time, climate change. Climate change is often talked about, but what exactly is it? How do we know it's happening, and why does it matter? Join us as we explore the science behind climate change, its causes, and its profound effects on our planet. Let's understand why it's crucial that we take action now. Climate change refers to significant changes in global temperatures and weather patterns over time. While climate change is a natural process that has been happening for millions of years, what we're seeing now is different. The current rate of change is much faster, and the primary driver is human activity. To understand climate change, we need to start with the greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect is a natural process that warms the Earth's surface. When the sun's energy reaches Earth, some of it is reflected back to space, and the rest is absorbed, warming the planet. Earth then radiates heat in the form of infrared energy, which greenhouse gases in the atmosphere trap, keeping the planet warm enough to sustain life. Greenhouse gases include carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and water vapor. Without the greenhouse effect, Earth would be too cold for most life forms. However, human activities have significantly increased the concentration of these gases, particularly carbon dioxide, since the Industrial Revolution. The burning of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gas for energy is the largest source of human-generated CO2 emissions. Deforestation, industrial processes, and certain agricultural practices also contribute to the release of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Since the late 19th century, the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere has increased by more than 45%, from around 280 parts per million to over 410 parts per million today. This increase in greenhouse gases is trapping more heat in the Earth's atmosphere, leading to a rise in global temperatures, a phenomenon commonly known as global warming. But how do we know that climate change is happening? The evidence is overwhelming and comes from multiple sources, including temperature records, ice cores, tree rings, and satellite data. First, let's look at temperature records. The last decade was the warmest on record, with 2016 and 2020 tied as the hottest years. The global average temperature has increased by about 1.2 degrees Celsius since pre-industrial times. While this might not sound like much, even small changes in average global temperatures can have significant impacts on the environment. Ice cores from Antarctica and Greenland provide a record of Earth's climate going back hundreds of thousands of years. By analyzing the gases trapped in these ice cores, scientists can determine past temperatures and CO2 levels. The data shows that current CO2 levels are higher than at any point in at least 800,000 years, correlating closely with rising temperatures. Satellite observations provide a clear picture of the changes occurring on Earth. We're seeing shrinking ice caps, receding glaciers, and rising sea levels, all signs of a warming planet. The Arctic, in particular, has been warming at more than twice the global average, leading to a dramatic loss of sea ice. The effects of climate change are already being felt around the world, and they will only become more severe if we don't take action. Some of the most noticeable impacts include melting ice and rising sea levels as global temperatures rise. Polar ice caps and glaciers are melting at an accelerating rate. This meltwater contributes to rising sea levels, which threatens coastal communities with increased flooding and erosion. Low-lying islands and cities like Miami, New York, and Bangkok are particularly vulnerable. Extreme weather events. Climate change is making extreme weather events more frequent and intense. We're seeing more powerful hurricanes, longer droughts, and more intense heat waves. These events not only cause significant damage, but also threaten food and water security, public health, and infrastructure. Ocean acidification. The oceans absorb about 30% of the carbon dioxide released into the atmosphere. This coater reacts with seawater to form carbonic acid, which lowers the pH of the ocean, a process known as ocean acidification. This change in pH harms marine life, particularly organisms like coral, mollusks, and some plankton species, which are crucial for marine ecosystems. Impact on ecosystems and biodiversity. Climate change is altering ecosystems and putting many species at risk of extinction. As temperatures rise, many plants and animals are struggling to adapt to the changing conditions. Coral reefs, which support a quarter of all marine species, are especially vulnerable to warming oceans and acidification. On land, changing climates are pushing species to migrate to new areas, disrupting ecosystems and food chains. Threats to human health. Climate change also poses significant risks to human health. Heat waves can lead to heat stroke and dehydration, while changes in weather patterns can increase the spread of diseases like malaria and dengue fever. Additionally, extreme weather events can lead to injuries, deaths, and the displacement of communities. Given the evidence and the impacts we're already seeing, it's clear that we must take action to address climate change. But what can be done? Reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The most important step is to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases we're putting into the atmosphere. This means transitioning away from fossil fuels and towards renewable energy sources like solar, wind, and hydroelectric power. It also means improving energy efficiency, protecting forests, and changing agricultural practices to reduce emissions. Adapting to the changes. While reducing emissions is crucial, we also need to adapt to the changes that are already happening. This includes building more resilient infrastructure, protecting vulnerable communities, and preserving natural ecosystems that can help mitigate the impacts of climate change, such as wetlands and mangroves. International cooperation. Climate change is a global problem that requires a global solution. International agreements like the Paris Agreement are vital for coordinating efforts to reduce emissions and support adaptation. The goal of the Paris Agreement is to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius, with efforts to keep it below 1.5 degrees Celsius. Achieving this goal will require significant cuts in emissions and a shift towards a more sustainable way of living. Personal action. Individuals can also make a difference by reducing their carbon footprint. This can be done by using energy more efficiently, eating a more plant-based diet, reducing waste, and supporting policies and companies that prioritize sustainability. Education and awareness are also key components in the fight against climate change. By understanding the science behind climate change and its impacts, we can make informed decisions and inspire others to take action. Whether it's through community outreach, social media, or educational programs, spreading awareness is crucial. Climate change is one of the greatest challenges of our time, but it's a challenge we can meet if we act together. The science is clear. We need to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, adapt to the changes that are already occurring, and work together on a global scale to protect our planet for future generations. As we face this challenge, remember that every action counts. By making sustainable choices and advocating for change, we can help create a more resilient and sustainable world. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the science behind climate change. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more deep dives into the science that shapes our world. Let's take action, spread the word, and protect our planet, because the future depends on what we do today.